The court clerk bit her lip, barely holding back laughter, as the jury foreman delivered the verdict in favor of the defendant, plus treble damages. Across the courtroom, the HOA president sat flushed, her arm in a sling, while photos of a massive hole in my living room wall flashed on the projector for all to see. She'd sued me for injury and emotional distress. The jury decided she owed me $84,000 instead. My name is Michael Bennett, 45, owner of a modest ranch-style home in Willow Creek Estates. I'm a low-key guy who restores vintage radios, keeps my lawn neat, and stays out of drama. But HOA President Deborah Langley seemed to think anyone who wasn't her version of a team player was a problem to fix. By team player, she meant someone who showed up to every HOA event, paid every special fee without a peep, and praised her scarf collection. Deborah ran the Willow Creek Estates HOA like her personal empire. She'd been president for 7 years, mostly because no one else wanted the hassle of challenging her. Her hobbies included measuring grass blades with a ruler, snapping pictures of tiny mailbox scratches, and sending violation notices in glaring purple ink. She once fined a neighbor $50 for a garden gnome angled incorrectly, per her take on community aesthetic rules. Trouble started when Deborah declared my screened-in porch violated sightline harmony because it didn't match the HOA-approved tan vinyl siding. I'd built that porch 5 years ago with proper city permits, well before the HOA existed. It was grandfathered under city ordinances, confirmed by my lawyer and the municipal building department. But Deborah didn't care about legal details when she had a vision for neighborhood sameness. The first warning letter arrived Tuesday morning, typed in all caps and hand-delivered by Deborah at 6 a.m. She hammered my doorbell until I answered, then shoved the paper at me with a smug grin. It called my porch an eyesore that tanked property values and demanded its removal within 30 days. I calmly explained it was legally permitted and predated the HOA. She shot back that HOA rules trumped everything, which made me chuckle right in her face. When I didn't comply, fines poured in $100 for noncompliance, then $200 for ongoing defiance. By month 3, she claimed I owed over $1,000 in fines and fees. I filed every notice in a folder labeled Deborah's Dream Fines and sipped my coffee on my perfectly legal porch. Things escalated with her inspection campaigns. She'd park her silver SUV outside my house for hours, snapping photos and scribbling on a clipboard. Sometimes she dragged other board members along, pointing at my porch and shaking her head like it was a crime scene. I once caught her at 11 p.m., measuring the distance from my porch to the property line with a tape measure. When I confronted her, she claimed official HOA business and threatened to fine me for interfering with her duties. Her tactics got wilder. She held neighborhood meetings just to bash my porch, sending flyers to everyone but me. She made a PowerPoint with photos of my porch from every angle, comparing it to her idea of architectural harmony. She even hired a consultant, her nephew, who wrote a report about my porch ruining the neighborhood vibe. His credentials? Binge-watching DIY shows and owning a stapler. I stayed cool, responding to each stunt with certified letters from my attorney proving my porch's legal status. This only made Deborah angrier. She left snarky notes on my car, signed me up for porch demolition ads, and told neighbors I was a rebel who didn't care about property values. Most saw through her, but her loyalists started giving me icy glares at the store. The tipping point came when Deborah announced at a board meeting she'd found a loophole to force me to alter my porch. Since I hadn't submitted original plans to the HOA, which didn't exist when I built it, she called it a technical violation. She proposed using HOA funds to hire a contractor to fix it while I was at work. Some board members questioned the legality, but she shut them down, hinting at their own violations. One afternoon, as I was making lunch, I heard a crash like a truck hitting a wall, followed by splintering wood and crumbling drywall. I ran to my living room and froze. Deborah's SUV was halfway through my exterior wall, her front bumper where my couch used to be. Drywall chunks were everywhere, and I could see her stunned face behind the airbag. She stumbled out in 4-inch heels and a blazer, still gripping her phone. Her first words? Not an apology, but, "You should thank me for exposing this structural hazard." She claimed she was doing a close proximity inspection when she lost control due to my unsafe Porsche on the opposite side of the house. When the police arrived, Deborah insisted she was the HOA president on official business. The officer, unimpressed, asked if that included smashing into homes. She blamed her heel catching the gas pedal. The police report noted she was texting while driving, and tire marks showed she'd veered off the road entirely. The damage was brutal. My living room wall needed rebuilding, hardwood floors were ruined, and furniture was trashed. My insurance adjuster, seeing the scene, asked if someone rammed my house on purpose. After I explained, he muttered, "First time in 20 years," and took photos. I filed an insurance claim and gave the police report to my attorney. 2 weeks later, with my wall still tarped and my living room a construction zone, a certified letter arrived. Deborah was suing me for $25,000, claiming injury, emotional distress, and vehicle damage. Her lawsuit said my non-compliant porch caused a visual distraction that led to her crash, plus trauma that stopped her from doing HOA duties. My lawyer read it 3 times, laughing harder each time, calling it the most absurd filing in his 30-year career. Deborah included a binder of HOA bylaws, her inspection reports, and a chiropractor's note about whiplash. She listed her distress, anxiety over property values, and nightmares about rogue porches. We countersued for property damage, trespassing, and harassment. My lawyer loved the harassment claim, backed by my stack of letters, fines, and late-night measuring logs. He subpoenaed Deborah's phone records, showing she was texting about HOA violations during the crash. Traffic camera footage from a nearby intersection caught her car veering off the road toward my house. Discovery uncovered more. Her reports talked of making an example of defiant homeowners. She'd emailed her vice president about all options to handle the porch issue, with a winking emoji. In depositions, Deborah doubled down, claiming HOA rules outranked local laws. She called the crash an accident caused by my negligent porch. She brought a scale model of the neighborhood to her deposition, showing how my porch disrupted aesthetic flow. My lawyer had to step out to stop laughing. The trial started 6 months later. Deborah showed up in a neck brace and cane, despite walking fine at the prior week's HOA meeting. Her lawyer, a slip-and-fall specialist, gave a dramatic speech about property rights and her trauma. My attorney laid out our case: my porch's legal status with permits and ordinances, Deborah's harassment campaign with every letter and note, and security footage of her measuring my property at night, which got jury gasps. The traffic camera video, played in slow motion, showed her deliberate turn off the road. Deborah's testimony was a mess. She claimed HOA presidents had supreme authority, citing no laws. She said her crash time texts were urgent HOA business. She accused me of staging the incident to humiliate her. At one point, she asked the judge to enforce HOA bylaws in court. The jury deliberated for under 2 hours. The foreman, barely hiding a grin, announced the verdict: my favor, dismissing Deborah's claims, with $84,000 in treble damages for willful property destruction and frivolous litigation, plus attorney fees. Deborah's face turned crimson as she shouted about appeals and HOA emergency meetings. The judge added a restraining order barring her from my property and suggested authorities investigate her HOA power abuse. He noted using a vehicle as a weapon could have been criminal, and she was lucky to face only civil penalties. He warned further harassment would mean contempt charges. Deborah was ousted as HOA president at an emergency meeting the next week. The vote was unanimous, even her allies bailing after the trial. She declared the HOA would regret this betrayal and property values would tank without her. Her dramatic exit faltered when she tripped over her heels, needing help from the board members who'd just voted her out. She threatened to sue everyone but backed off when reminded of the judge's warning.